Let's talk about Jose Urquidy. The 26-year-old is off to a strong start in Houston this year with a 3.76 ERA through his first 10 starts. Coming into the season, I was expecting a big jump for Urquidy, but there have been a few warning signs that have caused me to dig deeper. For starters, a big issue for Urquidy is that he is a reverse splits pitcher. In the chart, you can see the discrepancy in terms of allowing more barrels, more hard contact, and striking out fewer right-handed batters. Considering the majority of batters he faces are righties, this is a problem. The issue may be with the way he divides his arsenal. Against righties, Urquidy relies heavily on the fastball and slider. Considering his fastball is only 92 miles per hour and doesn't historically get a lot of whiffs, that puts a lot of pressure on the slider. Looking into it more, we see that Urquidy throws the slider 32% of the time to righties and 35% of the time with 2 strikes. However, the pitch has a 6.11 deserved ERA versus righties and 11.5% barrel rate in 2021, so relying heavily on that pitch has caused him issues. While the 11.5% swinging strike rate this year is similar to the 12.2% rate from last year, the slider does give up meaningful contact when it's hit. It's never really been a ground ball pitch, which means that against righties, his 2 most often used pitches have launch angles above 23 degrees, and may explain why his slugging and home run per 9 double against righties. I also believe that his release point could be a factor in why his slider is less effective against righties. This plot graphic shows a noticeable gap between the release point on his slider and four-seamer. Since those are the 2 pitches he primarily attacks right-handed hitters with, it's easy to see how the hitters could pick up on the lower arm slot and anticipate a slider. Another issue may be command, which you can see if you look at a 3D plot of his arsenal to righties. That's a lot of the middle of the plate, in particular his fastball, which is almost dead red in the center of the zone. If you look at the heat map, you can see how Urquidy kept the slider off the plate more in 2020 compared to this season, where he's catching far more of the middle. That's true of his changeup as well, which is not as consistently in the bottom of the zone as it was last year. Overall, in addition to his improved command, I think a fix could be to use his changeup more. The change has had a 12% swinging strike rate or higher against righties the last 2 seasons, so it's as much of a whiff pitch as the slider. It also induces more ground balls and works well with the slider, since the pitches attack opposite sides of the plate. This is one of the reasons I loved Urquidy's arsenal coming into the year. Looking at spin direction shows us that the four-seam and curve mirror each other relatively well, as do the slider and change. Yet Urquidy also doesn't throw his curveball much to righties, choosing to use it as a backdoor pitch against lefties. In fact, 70% of Urquidy's curves are backdoor to lefties, which is second most in the majors. Yet it's been an effective pitch against righties in limited usage over the last 2 years, and I like the way it pairs with his fastball. Urquidy's arsenal is tailored to work well together, as you can see from the way the movement of each of his pitches seems to work in tandem with the movement of another. However, his raw stuff is not overpowering. As a result, while he will likely always pitch better than projections, I'm no longer as confident the ceiling is as high as I once thought it was. I think Urquidy can settle to be a mid to high 3s ERA pitcher with a low whip, but will lack the strikeouts to be more than a fantasy 3 or 4 starter, similar to Aaron Savale. That still has good value, even if it's not the heights we were hoping for.